You don't realize it while you're inside. That's the scariest part. Because if it was obvious, you would have left sooner, but it wasn't. It felt real. It looked real. It sounded like love care partnership, future. And that's exactly why you stayed. Not because you were weak, but because nothing about it felt fake. At least, not at the beginning. And maybe that's the question that still haunts you. Was it real? Or were you just convenient? Because when you look back now, there are things you can't unsee anymore. Small things, subtle things, moments that didn't feel wrong at the time. But now they don't sit right, like how everything slowly started revolving around them. Their needs, their moods, their timing. And you adjusted, not all at once. That's not how it happens. It's slow, so slow you don't even notice. You just become more understanding, more patient, more flexible, until one day you realize you're the one holding everything together and they're just there, receiving, existing, letting you do the work of loving them. And the worst part is you didn't feel used. You felt committed, you felt loyal, you felt like you were doing what love requires. Because no one tells you what it looks like when love isn't love. It doesn't come with warnings. It doesn't announce itself. It blends in. And by the time you start questioning it, you're already too deep, too invested, too emotionally tied. So you don't ask, was I loved? You ask, what am I doing wrong? There's something that no one tells you about relationships like this. It doesn't start painful. It starts easy, too easy. No resistance, no real friction, no real depth. Just flow you give, they accept. You adjust, they get comfortable. And at first it feels like love because there's no fight, no pushback, no rejection. But let me ask you something. Did you ever notice that you were always the one figuring things out? Always the one making it work? Always the one finding solutions, creating moments, holding everything together. And they were just there, present but not involved. And you didn't question it. Because in your mind, that's what love looks like, right? You give more because you care more. You carry more because you're stronger. You fix things because you don't give up. But here's the part that changes everything. And this is where most people still don't see it because nothing looks broken. There's no screaming, no obvious betrayal, no moment you can point to and say, it started here. No, it feels normal, comfortable even. And that's what traps you. Because when something hurts loudly, you react, but when it drains you quietly, you adapt, you adjust, you justify. You start calling imbalance love. You start lowering standards you didn't even know you had. You stop expecting what once felt obvious. Attention, presence, reciprocity now feels like too much to ask. And that shift, it doesn't feel like loss, it feels like maturity. Like you're becoming more understanding, more patient. But what's really happening is something much quieter, much more dangerous. You're training yourself to need less while giving more. And the more you adapt, the less they have to. Because why would they? Everything is already working for them. You start calling sacrifice necessary. And without realizing, you slowly disappear inside your own life. Little by little, choice by choice, silence by silence, until one day you don't even recognize yourself anymore. And here's the question most people avoid, not because they don't know the answer, but because it's uncomfortable to admit. Were you really loved, or were you just available? Real love doesn't need one person to carry it. If you have to carry it, it's already broken. And you don't see that when you're inside, because inside you're not measuring balance, you're measuring effort, and you're proud of that effort. You look at everything you're doing and you think, I'm building something, I'm investing, I'm creating a future. But what you don't see is that you're the only one depositing and nothing is coming back. Not equally, not genuinely, not consistently. And slowly, very slowly, something shifts. Not outside, inside you. You start feeling tired, but you don't stop. You start feeling alone, but you don't admit it. You start feeling unseen, but you explain it away. They're just tired, they're just stressed, they're just not expressive. You protect them while abandoning yourself. And this is where most people lose themselves completely, not in one big moment, but in small permissions. You give over and over again. You allow things you wouldn't have accepted before. You silence reactions you used to have. You ignore feelings that used to matter. And after a while, you don't even recognize what's okay anymore because the line moved, not once, but slowly until it disappeared. And now you're navigating something that no longer feels right, but you can't explain why. And this is where it gets dangerous because now you're not just giving, you're justifying. You're not just loving, you're compensating for something that was never there. And the more you compensate, the more invisible you become. Because when you look back now, you start noticing patterns, not moments patterns. How it was always you adjusting, you understanding, you forgiving, you fixing, you staying, even when something inside you was already tired. And maybe you told yourself this is what love is: being patient, being supportive, holding everything together. But there's a difference between building something together and holding something alone. And deep down, you felt it more times than you admitted. That quiet discomfort, that subtle feeling that something wasn't right, but you ignored it because leaving would mean facing the truth, and staying allowed you to keep the illusion. Until one day you realize something that doesn't come as a scream. It comes as a silence, a very uncomfortable silence, where you look at everything and think, if I stop, what happens to this relationship? And deep down, you already know the answer. It collapses because it was never held by two people. It was sustained by one. And that's the moment where confusion turns into clarity. But clarity doesn't feel like relief. At first, it feels like loss, not just of the person, but of everything you believed you were building. And here's the part no one prepares you for when you finally see it. You can't unsee it. Not the imbalance, not the silence, not the absence that you used to call presence. Because once you understand that it wasn't mutual, everything rewrites itself. All the memories, all the moments, all the effort, they don't disappear, but they change meaning. And that's where it hurts, because you realize you weren't loved the way you thought you were useful. And that realization, it doesn't come with anger first. It comes with confusion because you start replaying everything, trying to find the moment where it all shifted. But the truth is, it didn't shift. It revealed itself. What you thought was growing was just stabilizing into a dynamic that was always one-sided. And that's why it's so hard to accept. Because it means there was no before. No real version where it was balanced. Only a version where you hadn't seen it yet. Convenient, available, reliable, but not chosen, not deeply, not consciously. And the hardest truth is this: it wasn't that you gave too much, it's that you were giving to someone who wasn't built to meet you there, and that realization breaks something inside you. Not your ability to love, but your illusion about what love was. Because now you see the difference between love and one person trying to make it exist. And this is the moment where most people split. Some go back, they shrink themselves again, they give again, they hope again, and they lose themselves all over again. But others, they pause. They sit with the discomfort. They stop explaining what shouldn't need explanation. They stop carrying what was never theirs alone. And slowly they start asking a different question. Not why did this happen to me, but why did I stay when it wasn't being returned? And that question changes everything, because now it's not about them anymore. It's about you, your patterns, your limits, your silence, your willingness to stay where you weren't seen. And this is where real change begins. Not when they leave, not when they move on fast, not when they replaced you, but when you finally understand that you were never replaced because you were never truly held. You were filling a space. And once you stop filling it, they find someone else to do the same. And that has nothing to do with your worth and everything to do with what they are capable of and what they are not. And when this finally lands, you stop needing answers from them. You stop needing closure. You stop needing recognition because you see it clearly, calmly, almost cold. And for the first time, you don't feel the need to prove anything. Not your love, not your effort, not your value. Because now you understand something that changes how you move forever. Love is not what you give. Love is what is built between two people. And if it only exists because of you, then it was never real to begin with. Just sustained, maintained, carried by someone who believed it was mutual. And now you don't carry anymore. And here's what changes after that. Not overnight, not in some dramatic moment, but quietly, in the way you start seeing things, in the way you stop over-explaining, in the way silence no longer feels like something you need to fill. You started noticing who shows up and who only stays when it's easy. You stop chasing clarity because confusion was never yours to solve. And for the first time, you don't feel the urge to fix, to prove, to hold something together that was never trying to hold you. And that shift, it's subtle, but it's everything. Because now you don't just understand what happened. You understand why it won't happen again.